Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we're doing a buy, sell, keep, avoid for Gameweek 8. A game week which is a little bit bizarre because there's a few fixtures clearly missing, so that is going to factor into some of our buy, sell, keeps and avoids for today. But hopefully we're going to steer you on the right trends in terms of those transfers that you're going to be making this week, whether you're on a wild card or otherwise. If you do enjoy this video, guys, please do leave a like, really helps out the channel so much, and do subscribe if you're new around here. But before we go any further, let's just have a look at the rules of the video. Alright, so buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking about removing but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now. I think they could potentially be traps that maybe, just maybe, you should actually avoid these players. 2 players in each category. We're going to start you off with some buys. Alright, as always, guys, all of the stats you see on screen today are provided by Fantasy Football Hub. And speaking of stats, Jesus, Mitrovic's stats are just insane. Like, I cannot understate this enough, and I urge you guys to go look in the link at the top of the description and go see for yourself. The Mitrovic, in terms of players in the Premier League right now, he is literally second for those underlying stats, only second to Haaland. So he is like that important right now. And with this amazing fixture, Nottingham Forest away, we know we've seen a lot of decent forwards get some decent points against both Forest and Bournemouth so far at the start of this season, and we can also see Bournemouth within the next 4 as well. So Mitrovic is like probably, to me, the #1 priority transfer in this game week. He's the player I'd be most looking forward to getting in if I was on normal transfers, if I was on a wild card. Top of the list, right, guys? Top of the list. So over the last 5 games that he's played, 4 goals, which is pretty decent, but you can see his underlying stats here. 4.49 expected goals, 1.15 expected assists, 24 shots, 19 in the box. This is all really, really good, positive reading. So we're expecting him to get a lot more goals, particularly now that his fixtures are getting a little bit easier. Like, he's got these stats in difficult games, and that's what's so surprising. So honestly, I feel like he could be absolutely unleashed against some of these easier fixtures. You know, this Nottingham Forest game in particular, and Bournemouth at home. I would even, genuinely, I do think he can be considered as a captaincy option for this Forest game as well. Like, maybe kind of in a similar region to Haaland. I know Mitrovic has a slightly easier fixture, actually a much easier fixture than Haaland, to be fair. He's not as good as Haaland, but don't get me wrong, this could be, like, I would not be totally surprised if Mitrovic came away from this game with a brace, a hat-trick, something like that. It really is. It really is that kind of situation when you look at how he's been playing so far and the opposition that he has this week. So yeah, definitely a player I'd be super keen to get in this week, and a certified buy. Next buy is Harry Kane. So in terms, like, I know I was talking a lot about underlying stats. I've had a good look at them this week. I've been going crazy looking at stats this week just because I'm on a wild card personally. So I really want to make sure I get it absolutely spot on based on what we've seen so far this season, which means looking at games, looking at our stats, looking at all kinds of different things, looking at oppositions. And Harry Kane is number 3 pretty much. In terms of forwards, it goes Haaland, Mitrovic, and then Kane. And I know Kane has got a lot of abuse, a lot of kind of people not really happy with him in FPL because he hasn't been performing as well as Haaland. But the simple fact is that among our premium players, so, you know, you think of the really expensive players 10 million and above, for example, Haaland, De Bruyne, Salah, Sterling, you maybe put in that category, Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, if you like. Kane is literally second in terms of points so far this season. He's second among all of our premium players. So if you're going for 2 premiums right now, Kane, to me, seems like the second best premium. And what I like even more about Kane is this fixture. Now, I've said this already this week, but I do believe that Kane is the best captaincy option for this game week. He loves a game against Leicester. He always scores against Leicester. It is by far his best fixture that he plays. And typically, when we see Kane playing against Leicester, we're seeing Kane play against a tricky Leicester. And right now, we've got Spurs at home against a Leicester team that is pretty much at rock bottom at the moment. They're the worst we've seen them in many, many years, for an incredible amount of years, really. So we're probably expecting Kane to get something out of this game, maybe a little bit more than something. Again, he's one of those players that this game week you wouldn't be surprised if he got 2 goals and an assist, maybe a hat-trick or something like that, because you can see with Kane, it's not just about goals. We've seen him get 5 goals so far, well, in the last 5 games anyway. we're also seeing him build up a lot of expected assists, creating a lot of chances for his teammates. So this could mean that he's getting goals, he's getting assists. Leicester have been weak defensively in general, and he likes us to score against Leicester, and he's on penalties. It's a really, really good fixture. And even going past that, Arsenal away looks a bad game on paper, but Arsenal is a game where Harry Kane really likes to play and always makes me nervous as an Arsenal fan, to be honest. Brighton, we don't really know what we're going to get from Brighton now that they've lost Graham Potter, and Everton at home in game week 11, which is one of those game weeks where there's not actually too many captaincy options. I believe that's the week where Liverpool and Man City play each other. If that is true, then, I mean, Kane against Everton could be an option potentially for you to go for as well. So I think he's a good captain option for, 2 out of the next 4 game weeks. I think he is performing very, very well. He's got fixtures that favour him and his play style. And his underlying stats and his numbers so far have actually been a lot better than people have been kind of letting them on to be. Now, the only problem with Kane is that he does take up a valuable forward slot. And I kind of understand why people kind of want to reserve their forward slots for obviously Haaland. He's in without a shadow of a doubt. But maybe you want to add in Mitrovic, maybe you want to add in Toney, maybe you want to add in Isak. And it's hard to get Harry Kane in as well. But for me personally, for this game week particularly, and even more moving forward as well, I think Kane is just going to be a really good pick. And I believe he is the second best premium player to have in your team right now. So lots of reasons to go for him. I think, in my opinion, he is the best Salah replacement. I know people will say, oh, they're different positions, but I would personally like to make 2 transfers and remove Salah and someone else to bring in Kane and someone else in midfield, I guess. So yeah, Kane, like him, buy him. So yeah, I kind of alluded to this already, but Salah is going to be a sell this week. He was actually a sell for me last game week, even when he did have a fixture in game week 7 and did have a fixture in game week 8, but obviously things have changed. Yeah, let's move past that. But, going forward, we've got a blank game week in game week 8. Then after that, Brighton, after that, Arsenal, after that, Man City. It's a really difficult run of fixtures for a player who's not been in particularly good form, who's been playing in a different position, essentially, than what we've kind of seen from him in the past. He's taken on a very different role now that Darwin Núñez is in the team, and he's much more of a winger rather than a forward, which is not really something we like, really, when we want to get those big points. And if you're paying this amount of money for a player, you really do need them to get a little bit more than this. I mean, you can see our underlying stats on screen right now, guys. Compare them to your Haaland, compare them to your Mitrovic, compare them to your Kane, the actual strikers. You can see that Salah's stats are not really reflective of a striker in the same way as they have been previously. So although he is taking a decent amount of shots, it's really about the passes. He's making far more passes, but because he's playing so wide, each individual key pass, on average, not actually generating that much expected assists because he's not creating those real clear-cut chances. He's kind of, crosses in, passes in to create kind of half chances and stuff like that. It kind of stat pads in a way, and actually it's not really looked too much like getting too many goals, too many assists. It's just very difficult to justify this price tag. Now, I'm not ruling out Salah permanently. He can always come back into form. Liverpool as a club could come back into form as well, and there could be an opportunity in the future to go back in on Salah. But I don't think that time is right now, and the blank in game week 8 has given us really a really good excuse to remove Salah, and I don't think we'll be rushing to get him back in for game week 9 either, with game week 10 and 11 on the horizon as well, bad fixtures. So I think it may be a time to just take a step back for a little while from Salah and maybe kind of keep an eye on him, see at what point would be a good time to go back in on him. Don't write him out permanently, but now just does not seem like the right time to be a Salah owner. Okay, so I'm putting a goalkeeper in this sell category, which is not something I often do. Like, I always usually say goalkeepers are very rarely worth a transfer, but when your goalkeeper doesn't have a fixture full stop, probably a pretty good time to sell them, right, guys? Some of you guys may have like a Ward on your bench and you want to kind of depend on Ward. I would not be totally surprised if Ward gets a 0-pointer against Spurs, to be honest, and Leicester concede 4 goals or something like that. I can see that happening. So, even if you have Ward, is he really adequate cover? I'm not really sure. And then going after that, Brighton's fixtures are really not ideal. And I look at these fixtures and I kind of think, all right, if I had an attacker from Brighton, then maybe I could be tempted to keep them. A Pascal Gross, maybe a Trossard, maybe not really a McAllister, because I feel like he's a penalty merchant anyway, which is fine, but not for me. But yeah, but with Sanchez and with those Brighton defenders, it's kind of more like, even after the blank, where are the points coming from? I can't really see too many points coming right now. So it makes a lot of sense to just take the hit, like remove the goalkeeper this one time. You know, it's a special situation where your goalkeeper doesn't have a fixture anyway. Gives you, again, a good excuse to remove that player and bring in someone else. Nick Pope would be first on my list of goalkeepers, I suppose, of goalkeepers I quite like to get. You could maybe consider Raya potentially as a 4.5 million option, pretty cheap goalkeeper there. But yeah, Nick Pope would be the one I'd go for, and I'd say most people will probably agree with that one, that Pope is the goalkeeper of choice right now. And I mean, look at Robert Sanchez. I mean, he's not even got any XG so far this season. So I mean, why would you want to keep him? Joking, of course, guys. But yeah, if you're going to remove a goalkeeper, this is a good opportunity. This is a good opportunity to switch it about. Now, I know a lot of people would probably just assume if there is no fixture for your player this week, that just makes them an automatic sell. I would say there are a couple of exceptions to that, and Reece James would be an exception to that. If I have Reece James right now, and I do have Reece James right now, I'm keeping him. You know, if I'm on a wild card, and I am on a wild card right now, I'm keeping Reece James. Reece James is quite literally in my wildcard team right now, because if I have him in my wildcard now, I can bench him for one game week, and then I don't have to worry about bringing him back in later, because he is a player I would like to have long term. He is not quite as expensive as your Trents or your Robertsons or your Cancelos that you've maybe been a bit disappointed in. And, you know, at that 6 million price point, you know, he's got these good fixtures where you could get some clean sheets out of. We expect Chelsea to improve under Graham Potter. I don't think that's unreasonable to say. And we know Reece James is now going to be playing further forward in that right wing-back position, and hopefully putting in those performances that made us all love him so much during certain parts of last season. So these fixtures, you know, I look at Crystal Palace, Wolves, Aston Villa, these are real opportunities for clean sheets and for goals at certain points, you would say. So in general, I think he's a good FPL pick still. We've seen him get goals, we've seen him get assists, we've seen him get a few too many yellow cards and maybe concede a few too many goals, but he has shown some real promise. So if you do have Reece James in your team, I would just be benching him for game week 8. I'm sure you guys have some players you can bring in ahead of Reece James. If you've got an Andreas on your bench, he plays against Nottingham Forest this game week, which is not too bad at all, really. I would expect Andreas to potentially get some points this game week. We've got players like Nico Williams, who plays against Fulham. You know, if Nico Williams takes as many shots as he has been doing recently, or, you know, takes a set piece or something, you can kind of guess that maybe that Nottingham Forest could score against Fulham as well, and maybe Nico's involved in that. So yeah, I think I would just save yourself a transfer, keep James in, don't worry about it, bench him for one game week, and, you know, try and cover it with your bench. I'm sure a lot of you guys have got players you'd be okay with playing from your bench. Another keep is Toney. Remember what happened last time I said keep Toney? He scored a hat-trick. I don't know if I'll get it right again this game week. I'm kind of hoping he doesn't score a hat-trick against Arsenal, if I'm totally honest. But I do still think that it is worth keeping Toney, particularly because after this Arsenal game, and Arsenal are not impenetrable. You know, we've seen Arsenal concede goals so far this season. They've only kept a couple of clean sheets in their 6 games. So you know, you can score against them, right? But after that, we've got this Bournemouth away game, which is a fixture you're really going to want to have Toney for. So although in general I do prefer Mitrovic right now, I feel like, you know, I wouldn't really want to be switching to and from. I wouldn't switch Toney to Mitrovic and then back to Toney the following game week, because that's just using up a lot of transfers. And I think if you count a transfer's value at 4 points, it's essentially like spending 8 points on taking Toney out of your team and back in again. Doesn't really make too much sense to me, particularly when you've got this Bournemouth fixture, which is so good. So yeah, I think I would keep Toney ahead of these 2 games. It's not like he's been bad. He's definitely not been bad. He's been pretty damn good, actually. And I think if there wasn't so many other forwards that we were all interested in, we wouldn't even be considering selling Toney right now. Like, we really wouldn't. So yeah, definitely keep for me. Performing very well, creative, taking a lot of shots on, has some decent well, this Bournemouth fixture anyway, I think is decent. After that Bournemouth fixture, if you want to switch to someone else, completely understood, completely understand that. But for now, I feel like Toney is probably worth keeping. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a goal against Arsenal, and I expect him to get a couple of goals against Bournemouth as well. So yeah, good player. And I'm kind of jealous of those of you guys who did keep him for that hat-trick. I didn't have him in the first place. But yeah, keep Toney. Come on. Right, on to some avoids, and I know this is going to sound really, really obvious, to say avoid players who don't have a fixture in Game Week 8, but apparently it's not that obvious because I've already kind of spoken about it in other videos, and people have kind of been saying, well, maybe we can, buy this player in now for the future. Unless you're on a wild card, I would definitely not be buying a player who blanks. If you're on a wild card, maybe you can consider buying a couple of players that blank, one or two players that blank, as long as you love those players and you can cover them with your bench for one game week only. Using your just normal transfers, do not buy any player who blanks in Game Week 8. Just don't even bother. You may as well just wait it out one more game week and kind of see what happens. You may find you change your mind. Now with Rashford in particular, I definitely would not be buying him because after Game Week 8 he plays against Manchester City away. So he's kind of got a guaranteed blank in Game Week 8. And a very likely blank in Game Week 9 as well. And if you go forward, aside from that Everton fixture, and I don't know, maybe that Newcastle fixture, I don't think the fixtures are that good for Manchester United. And I've also seen a lot of noise around Manchester United the fans base, kind of saying that Rashford is not actually nailed on. And, when Martial comes back, and Martial, when is he going to be back? Game Week 9, Game Week 10. When Martial's back, that's going to mean that Martial's probably going to be the main central striker. Rashford is going to be sharing minutes with Sancho on the left, maybe sharing some minutes with Anthony on the right, but certainly not nailed on. So that's going to be a problem when you've got a player who has got kind of weak-ish fixtures. Other than that Everton game, pretty weak fixtures. I know he's a very good price. I know he's sometimes playing as a forward, but with Martial, with Ronaldo, there's no guarantee he's going to keep playing as a forward. Arguably, he's better on the left wing anyway. And we've got all of the other wingers at the club right now who are performing well. So Rashford is a really difficult one that the more I think about it, the more I go off him. It would have been nice to own him ahead of a Leeds game in Game Week 8, but now that that's completely out the window, I just feel like Rashford is just a straight up avoid. I would also be selling him, to be fair, if I had him, because I would not be too interested in having Rashford for the run-in, to be honest. So yeah, Rashford is an avoid, Rashford is a sell, whatever you want to call him. I know it's a shame because a lot of you guys have only just got him in. You got to roll with the punches, unfortunately. We've been put in a difficult situation in FPL. It's up to us now to deal with it. And finally, I thought I'd put an avoid player in who actually does have a fixture, because it would be very easy for me to sit here and say, oh yeah, avoid Pascal Gross, avoid Trossard, avoid McAllister, avoid Zaha, and all the other players who don't have fixtures. I mean, it's obvious, right? Well, to most of us, it's obvious anyway. But yeah, I put Kulusevski in here as well, because I don't think he covers Kane. I don't think Son covers Kane either. Like, I know a lot of you guys are kind of, you kind of don't want to use up one of your, like, forward positions on a Kane, but you want to take advantage of particularly this Leicester at home fixture. And I don't think Kulusevski does that. I don't think Son does that. Son has been in very bad form. We've kind of all seen that. And I'm kind of worried about international duty for Son as well, as he's got that Arsenal game. It's only like 24 hours or maybe 48 hours after his South Korea game, and it's a long flight, etc, etc. It's a difficult one. So with Kulusevski, I think he's being rotated a little bit at the moment. Richarlison has obviously come into the fray a little, which is kind of going to limit Kulusevski's minutes. We've already seen it limit Kulusevski's minutes so far this season, and I know a lot of people are buying Kulusevski. I just really don't recommend that one. Underlying numbers, as you can see on screen right now, between game weeks 2 and 6, so that's 5 game weeks, his last 5 game weeks that he played, it's not looked good. 0.19 expected goals. He's not taking too many shots, and more importantly, not taking shots in dangerous positions. He's been a little bit creative, but nothing mega creative. And it just does seem like Richarlison, the form that Richarlison is in right now, he's going to get minutes. He's not going to get those minutes off Harry Kane, so he's going to take minutes off Kulusevski or Son. And so far, it's been Kulusevski that's been the sacrificial lamb, I suppose, in this situation. So yeah, it doesn't seem like a good pick to me. I would arguably say the same thing about Son. The only thing Son offers you is flexibility, I suppose, but I don't think any of these guys are really going to replace Kane unless you want to take a punt on Richarlison, but I don't really see too many people doing that because that doesn't really solve the forward problem anyway. So I think in terms of Spurs attackers, it's pretty much Kane or nothing for me. But that's just my opinion. There we go, guys. All right, in conclusion, pretty much don't buy players who don't have fixtures this week. Sell players who don't have fixtures this week, with the exception of maybe Reece James, who I'd perhaps like to keep slightly longer term. If you're on wild cards, obviously you can go a little bit more crazier with all this kind of stuff and just enjoy the situation you're in. But look, we have certain teams and players that don't have any fixtures. We're not going to get those double game weeks until 2023. It's going to be messy. Just try and steer clear and remove those players who don't have fixtures, particularly those that then have bad fixtures after that as well, because that kind of gives us more reason to remove them. We've got an international break coming up as well, so form of players from the last 5 game weeks, especially if they don't have a fixture this game week, could be pretty meaningless. It could be that certain players that you have right now that were in form before don't play a Premier League game for a month, pretty much, and then you're expecting them to continue that form. And it often is the case that time away from football, you know, the form does kind of go a little bit, the confidence does drop a little bit. So, yeah, just be aware of that. Most of the time, if a player doesn't have a game this week, don't buy them. If a player does have a game this week, keep them, buy them, whatever. And there we go, guys. End of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid for today. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you're new around here. Do check out Fantasy Football Hub's Opta tool because it is so good. I know I say this all the time, but it's because I believe it. It's because I believe it from my heart of hearts. More videos coming this week. We're going to do more videos on wildcards. We're going to do more videos on what the experts are up to. I'm going to show you what I'm doing with my wildcard. My wildcard, by the way, is absolutely crazy right now. Maybe I've lost the plot, or maybe that's just me. But yeah, I look forward to showing you that one later on in the week as well. But yeah, aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.